I was able to sit down with Emeritus Professor of Art Don Ruedy and talk to him about his time at UW-Barron County, a 2-year campus in Rice Lake, Wisconsin. During our conversation, he shared some of his thoughts about art and about teaching. He also talked about his philosophy on learning, not just in college, but throughout life. Professor Ruedy taught art on this campus for 35 years, from 1969 to 2004. He has also been a Renaissance man who never stops learning, whether the subject be music, literature, art, theater, or karate. He is always asking why and how, and perhaps most importantly, why not. One observation I made about Ruedy from my interview with him is that he is a prolific aphorist with several adages, such as, "When the student is ready, the teacher will be there," and "Art is the lie that reveals the true." I hope Ruedy's thoughts on art, education, and life provoke reflection in you as they have in me.
And so we're the only creature that does art. We're the only creature that does music. We're the only creature that writes and has stories. I think that's very important. That's why we got to have that. So we got to have that in the colleges. So we got to have that in the world because it's unique. It's what makes us humans. There, that's my answer for that. And that's why I'm for art. I'm for art in the colleges and the universities in the world. I have had people come into the gallery where I was working. And the guy walks in there and says, "Oh, all you got here is pictures." I said, "Well, this is not going to be good for him." So he's missing out on being a human. And I think people should whatever humans do, I think they should get more of that.
So if someone were starting art today, like what specific piece of advice would you give them?
Okay, I would say there are a lot of art magazines. You don't see them too many around here, like Art in America, American Artist. Get one of those. Go to the library, a lot of books. The best thing I think would be to find out if there's a workshop. Is there a college or university next by? And sometimes they have a workshop. I used to run workshops for people in the evening or something like that. And they just came in and wanted to learn how to paint or something like that. Art is one thing that the rest of the creatures on this planet do not have. It's what we have as people.
Yeah.
That's where I come from. That's why I like to teach. I feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. Here's a motto that I used to have on the door. When the student is ready, the teacher will be there. I like that.
Well, meaning how would you explain that saying? When the student is ready, the teacher will be there.
Okay. Student would come up to me and said, "I'm ready, but you weren't here." He says, "Maybe you weren't ready." What happened to me? As a kid, I was always picked on. My dad was a teacher. And I got beaten up all the time. And as I got older, I wanted to learn something. And I watched people doing martial arts. I said, "Whoa, I gotta have some of that." But around here, there's no martial arts. But I ran into a student that was up here as a brown belt. And he got a little thing started. And we're enjoying it. And I says, hey, I gotta learn more of this. I said, what you need is the black belt. There's no black belts around here. All of a sudden, we found out that down in Eau Claire, there's Taekwondo black belt. The student is ready. The teacher will be there. I went down there and I met him. And he said, well, you can come down here. And I says, how would you like to come up to Rice Lake? We started a small little place up here. In a church basement. And he began teaching once a week, come here. And of course I joined. 5 years later, I'm a black. I don't tell too many people I don't want to get called out,
Oh.
but I'm a black belt. And when the student is ready, just don't give it up, just keep looking. You're ready, and the teacher shows up. That's how I mean.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it works for me,
right.
But it's like, if you really want to do it,
You will find a way.
you'll find a way. In other words, how do you become ready? You work at it. You don't give up. You just keep trying to find it, and then all of a sudden there it was.
Oh, wow. No,
There's my life.
that's really good advice. Yeah, no, absolutely. Just persistence, keep at it and find a way.
Well, that's the thing is that if you're gonna go and get a master's degree or a PhD or something, or become a professor, you gotta work at it. You can't give up. You're gonna get a couple of grades that are low. Don't give up. Get back in there. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, you just keep pushing.
I've been I've been kicked out of shows. I would try to get into a show. Sorry. The judge does not like your work. That happens a lot.
But you just keep going, right?
Yeah.
It's not what happens, it's how you respond to it. So, what connections do you see between stories and art in general?
Stories and art, a lot. A lot. First of all, I wanna talk a little bit about my philosophy with art. And that is, what is art? I have art is the lie that reveals the truth. Now think about it. When I do work with art, painting, sculpture, anything, that's the lie. But when you see it, it will give you the truth. And so I like that definition.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Let's start with that and say, okay, now the story. And there's a story. And art is kind of like an illustration. When I was a kid, I didn't like books that didn't have any illustrations in it. And now I don't like music without art that goes along with it.
So you see a connection there between
Yeah.
storytelling and music and art.
Oh, yes.
All of them are, in a way, the lie that reveals the truth.
Okay. There's a wonderful piece of music by Morzewski, Pictures at an Exposition. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Okay, starts out with a promenade where you can basically see somebody walking. And then all of a sudden it stops and he's at the first painting. And then there's music. Sometimes it's wild, sometimes it's soft, sometimes, and it's like, oh, this is the first painting. Then we go to the promenade again. only the promenade has changed slightly because this guy was great. And at the end, there's a promenade. And it's completely different because of the influence from the paintings. Now there's story.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's okay, another one, a tone painting, Appalachian Spray. Copeland. Are you familiar with that?
I think I've heard of that one.
I know, you probably have, I probably have, and I play that every spring. As soon as the snow melts, and it says, to me, here is a tone painting. This is music, but it's telling me a story.
Yes.
So as far as the arts go, when you say story, it is a story. You just go through mythology and you'll find art all over the place. It's stories. And a lot of times you're gonna have to read them to figure out what's happening. Yeah. So one of the favorite ones that I have is by Goya. And this is a print. Goya made a lot of prints, because then he could pass those around, and he was kind of a renegade there in Spain. And it was called Two Men Fighting to the Death While Sinking in Quicksand. Wow, that's today. Look at what's happening in our world today. People are fighting to the death, and what they don't realize, global warming is the quicksand. And they're not dealing with it. They're all trying to kill each other, and they don't realize that that's not what's going to happen to you. There's something that's a good story. You got to think about that, right?
It's totally relevant today, right? Yes, no, I completely see what you're saying.
Yeah. Following the money. Okay. Work in the Renaissance. Michelangelo would work for the Pope, work for the church. Why? The church had the money. And so as a result, all the work was something to do with the religion. Okay. Along comes our time now, and we have this guy, it was a guy called Andy Warhol. And what did he do? He put up soup cans. And you can see it all the time. There's no fine art anymore. It's advertising. So anyway, that's what's happening in our world today. Andy Warhol was a genius. He figured that out. And we had movie stars. You're familiar with his work, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was the whole thing with the pop art program. So that here it is. This is people don't like it, but they don't understand what's happening to themselves. This was what was happening in the Renaissance. All the money came for doing things that would have to do with the church. Now it's everything that you see had to do with selling anything.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yes, absolutely. It's become more of a popular art, right?
Oh, yeah.
Would you say your art has a common theme or set of themes to it? If so, what? How do you pick your topics for your artwork?
By painting what's around me. I don't know. Sometimes they come from reading books. Sometimes watching a movie. The latest style I was working on was called uh, Twilight of the Family Farm. Now, here I am, I'm in northern Wisconsin. I like it up here now. I'll stay up here. I won't go anywhere else. I like to be in northern Wisconsin. And as I drive around, I see these, used to be old barns. And I would tape them, take pictures of them. And a lot of them, around the show up here, are barns. And they're been selling like crazy. Anyway, most of the barns that I painted are no longer there. My wife was on a farm. And we used to drive by her farm and there was a barn there. I painted it. It's gone. It fell down. I would say that most of those barns that you see are no longer there. I gotta paint them faster, what's happening. And what's happening is that the family farm does not make it anymore. Now it's every chicken farms, pig farms, everything's got again the money. And that's a message that I want to come across. Now, where I live, there's a lot of Amish, and wow, they have ways of doing things that are just the old-fashioned ways. But the Amish do not like you to come and take pictures, and I don't want to do that. So sometimes I have to sneak by and click. And I try to make it so that they couldn't tell that it came from one of their farms or something, because I don't want to insult them. Yeah.
So you would see your art as sort of representing the story of Wisconsin farms and how they've changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we're the only creature that does art. We're the only creature that does music. We're the only creature that writes and has stories. I think that's very important. That's why we got to have that. So we got to have that in the colleges. So we got to have that in the world because it's unique. It's what makes us humans. And I think people should whatever humans do, I think they should get more of that.